Welcome back. So you've got that familiar knot in your stomach, right? You're staring at your phone, just terrified to make that very first campaign fundraising call.
Yeah, because you feel like a sleazy salesperson before you've even dialed a single number.
Exactly. And it's a terrible feeling. So we're diving into some resources today, specifically the Bootstrapped Fundraising Playbook and the Fundraising for the Beginner Guide. Today, we are answering the question, how do first-time candidates start fundraising?
Well, I think that heavy feeling of staring at the screen, it usually comes from a fundamental misunderstanding. Like, we quickly buy into the lie that asking for money is begging.
Right, or some kind of, transaction or a shakedown.
Yeah, exactly. But these guides approach this through the lens of kingdom fundraising, and that flips the assumption entirely. It frames asking not as begging, but as a genuine invitation into a shared mission.
And these two resources tackle that from really different angles. I mean, the fundraising for the beginner guide focuses on the internal battle, overcoming the fear, the vulnerability, and just the sheer awkwardness of asking.
Yeah, dealing with the mental block first.
Right. And then the bootstrapped fundraising playbook steps in with the actual tactical step-by-step tools, like
Oh.
how to raise support when you really don't have wealthy corporate connections.
But that internal shift, it really has to come first. And the materials ground this perspective directly in Scripture, which is so important. They point straight to Zechariah 4:10.
Oh, right. Telling you, do not despise these small beginnings.
Exactly. And then they connect that over to Luke 8:1 for 3, because it highlights this really profound reality. Even Jesus' own ministry was practically supported by faithful, everyday people giving out of their own means.
Wow, yeah. So it wasn't funded by massive empires, it was sustained by actual relationships.
Right. But I mean, I totally understand the biblical framing, but realistically, reaching out to your closest connections for money, it can still feel incredibly awkward.
Well, absolutely. If you're asking friends and family to fund a campaign, it definitely runs the risk of feeling like you're pitching them, I don't know, a multi-level marketing scheme or something.
Yeah.
So how did these resources actually prevent that?
Well, that is where the 100 Seed Donor Outreach Checklist comes in. That's from the Fundraising for the Beginner Guide.
Okay, so how does that tool actually work?
It prevents that pitch-heavy feeling by completely changing the mechanics of your approach. So instead of blasting out some generic script, it has you organize your first 100 closest contacts into manageable tiers.
Based on your relationship and
Yep.
like their likelihood to actually support the mission?
Yeah, so it's all about building momentum. You might start with tier 3.
The people you know will definitely say yes, even if it's just a $20 donation.
Exactly, yeah. You
Mm.
secure those early wins just to break the paralysis, and before you ever make the ask, the tool requires you to jot down warm connection notes.
So you aren't dialing strangers. You are mapping out genuine check-ins with people you trust, figuring out how their values align with your campaign's mission.
Yes, exactly that.
It's like planting a garden. You don't start by yelling at the soil to grow. You start by quietly watering the seeds that are already right there in your yard.
That is a perfect way to put it. And once you're warmed up, once you've watered those seeds, that's where the bootstrapped fundraising playbook really takes over.
So if the beginner guide gets your head right, the playbook tells you exactly what to do with your hands.
Yeah, because once a candidate gets past the fear, and realizes they don't need corporate mega donors, they still need to know how to actually process a check.
Right, or structure a simple database for those 100 seeds. It breaks down the actual mechanics of a grassroots campaign.
It does. It shows you how to track who you've called and honestly how to follow up without being annoying. And it relies really heavily on transparency.
Because every day, people give to bootstrap campaigns because they want to see exactly where their $50 is going, right?
Yeah, you are literally bringing them into the operations of the campaign.
So the two guides really work in tandem. You gain the courage to make the call, and then you have the tangible infrastructure to actually manage that support.
They do. And, if you are sitting there right now feeling overwhelmed, there is a way to walk this out at a sustainable pace.
A really good starting point is just exploring the fundraising for the beginner guide and its companion flipbook, The Courage to Ask.
Yeah, they're built entirely to take that initial pressure off.
And if you just need to get your headspace right before anything else, try listening to the companion song, Faithful. It anchors your heart in the reality that small seeds really do bring hope well before you ever pick up the phone.
And you can find all these resources over at faithflowrootedministry.org. It really is all about reframing the task in front of you.
It is. So as you sit there looking at your list of names, consider this. What if the person you are most terrified to call is actually just waiting for an invitation to make a difference?